Hi, let me talk about how you can solve some application problems that will involve right triangles and the trig functions that we've studied. And I've started with a problem that has no reference to a word problem to begin with because this will follow kind of the model of the way your problems will be set up. And the idea here is that you know an angle, you know possibly one side. You might know more than one side, but let's just say that you only know one side, and you need to find the missing values. So here we know our angle is 30 degrees. We know the side adjacent to that is 105. We don't know the side opposite, nor do we know the hypotenuse. So how can we find the missing values? Well, you've got trig ratios that involve an angle and two sides. So you want to think about what trig ratio would involve two of those things that we know. So if I know an angle, I know the side adjacent, I don't know the opposite, nor do I know the hypotenuse. So I'm wanting to use now the trig functions that have the adjacent in them. Well, I know that cosine has adjacent over hypotenuse, so I do know that cosine of 30 degrees would have to be equal to the adjacent over hypotenuse, which would be 105 over r. So I can use that relationship to find out what the value of r is. In fact, if I multiply both sides by r, I get r times cosine of 30 degrees is equal to 105. So therefore, r would be equal to 105 divided by cosine of 30 degrees. And then you can use your calculator. I do need to change my calculator mode to degrees if it's not already in that. And now I'm going to say 105 divided by cosine of 30. And get 121.24. Okay, and whatever units, if this was feet, then this would be in feet as well. Now that I know what r is equal to, it is 121.24, I now need to find y. So to find y, I want to use one of the trig functions that involves what? The adjacent and the opposite. Well, that is tangent, right? Tangent of 30 degrees is equal to the opposite over adjacent. So that would be equal to y over 105. So to solve for y, I can multiply both sides by 105. So y is really going to be 105 times the tangent of 30 degrees. So 105 times the tangent of 30 degrees. Okay, and so y is going to approximately be 60.62. Now, you might remember this from your study of right triangles, that the hypotenuse is always the longest side, since it is the side opposite the largest angle. So you just want to kind of reinforce that here, that that is indeed the longest side. Now, let's apply this to a real-life problem. And I have selected this from your textbook on page 286, number 79. We have a biologist wants to know the width W of a river in order to properly set instruments for studying pollutants in the water. From point A, the biologist walks downstream 100 feet and sights to point C. From this sighting, it is determined that theta is equal to 58 degrees. How wide is the river? So we kind of have this set up. Here's our river, and here's a point A. And we want to know how wide is a river. So we're going to call that W. From point A, the biologist walks downstream 100 feet. Okay. and sights to point C. So this is the C here. And it is determined that that angle is 58 degrees. Can you see this is exactly what I just showed you without the wording attached to it? And oftentimes in your word problems in the textbook, you're going to have a picture drawn for you, so you're not going to have to kind of guess where everything is. So if I want to find the width of the river, I need to find something that's going to use the opposite of the 58 degrees and the adjacent. Well, that is tangent, right? Tangent of 58 degrees is equal to opposite, which is W, over adjacent, which is 100. So to solve for W, we're going to multiply both sides by 100. So using our handy dandy calculator, we can do 100 times the tangent of 58 degrees, and it's in degree mode, and I get 160.03. So if we round to the nearest foot, we would say it's 160 feet. Okay? Because my 100 is in feet. Did I write that down right? 160, yes. Okay? So all of your problems are going to be similar to this. You're going to need to find a trig ratio that involves the angle that you know and one of the known sides and then the unknown side, and use that as your equation to solve for the thing that you need to find. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me.